In this lesson we're going to look at factorising. So previously in the last section you were multiplying out brackets, but as you can see here we're saying that this process can be reversed, and this is what we're calling factorising. So instead of multiplying out brackets, we're taking an expression and putting it back into brackets. Now how do we do this? Well, let's look at the next screen and see if we can spot what's happening. When you take an expression, for example the top one, we'll just concentrate on that at once. What you're trying to do is you're trying to find this red number first, which is called the common factor. It's a number or a letter that goes into both parts of the expression, both terms. We'll start with numbers, but it can also be a letter. Now it needs to be the biggest or the highest common factor that goes into both terms. So in this case it's a 2. Once you've got your 2 at the front, you just see what needs to go into the bracket when you multiply it by 2 to end up with the original expression. So you can see that if you put an x at the front, you'll get a 2 times x makes a 2x. And if you put a 9 at the back, then 2 times 9 makes the 18. Obviously there has to be a takeaway in the bracket to make the subtract 18. Same idea here. If we think about what the highest common factor of 5 and 15 is, it's 5. And you need a 5y to make the 5y here, and you need a 3 at the back to make 5 times 3 to make the 15. In this case here, we're looking at 4 being the biggest number that divides into 12 and 16, so you write a 4 at the front of the bracket. We need a 3m here to multiply by 4 to make the 12m, and we need a 4 at the back to multiply by 4 to make the 16. Again, there needs to be a takeaway here. And the last one, the biggest number that divides into 10 and 4 is 2. And again, we need in the bracket a 5 to make 2 times 5 is 10. And a 2b at the back, 2 lots of 2b make 4b. Okay, let's have a shot at these. There is 12 to do. The first ones I've given you a hint with the highest common factor. You can pause this and try it yourself and then see if it works out to be the same as me. So I would write your brackets out first and then try and find your highest common factor. In this case I've given you, it's 4. And we think 4 times what makes the 4a, so it's going to be an a. We need a plus. And 4 times what makes 24, that's got to be 6. Next one, 3 times what makes 3x, it needs to be x, it's a takeaway. 3 times what makes 6, 2. Highest common factor of 10 and 5 is 5. 5 times what makes 10, that's 2. Need a takeaway. 5 times what makes 5y, we need a y. Highest common factor of 16 and 24, this is a tricky one. You could get the wrong one really easy. You could have picked 2 or 4, but in fact it's 8. If you picked 4 or 2, you wouldn't get full marks. You could still factorise it, but not properly, not fully factorising it. 8 times what makes 16y? Well, I need a 2 to make the 16 and a y. I have a takeaway, and 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, let's move on to the second row here. So in all these ones, instead of having a number as a common factor, we're going to look for a letter. Now as long as the letter is common to both bits, we can take that outside the bracket. So in this case, there's a y in both parts. So y times what makes y squared? Well, that's y. We need a plus, and y times what is 4y? That's a 4. Looking at this next one, the letter that's common to both parts is c. C times what makes 6c? We need a 6. A takeaway. And c times what makes c squared? That needs to be a c. The next letter that's common is the a. So take the a outside the bracket. A times what is a squared? That's another a. We need a takeaway. And a times what makes ab? Well, that's just b. On to the last one here, you look for the common letter in both bits, and that's a t. So take it outside the bracket. t times swap makes tr, that's an r, a takeaway, and t times swap makes ts, well that's an s. Okay, on to the final ones here. Now, looking at this, the first thing I want to do is take out a number. So I need the highest common factor of 4 and 8, and that will be a 4. But there's also a letter that appears in both bits, so I can take that out as well, so that's a b. So I take the b outside the bracket. Now 4b times swap makes 4ab, well it's only the a that's missing here, so I need the a there. I have a takeaway, and 4b times swap makes 8b, well I need to double that, so I need a 2. Looking at this one, there's a 6n squared plus 9, so there's not an n in both bits, so I can't take that out, but I can take 3 out as a common factor. 3 times swap makes 6n squared, well I need a 2 to make the 6, I need the n squared there, so that all multiplies to give me this. A plus, and 3 lots of 3 make 9. On this one here, I look for the highest common factor of 27 and 36, that's 9. I look for a letter, and I can't find one that's common to both bits. I then say, okay, I need 27, so I need to multiply by 3, and I need my f squared there. So when I multiply all that, I get this bit. I take away 9 watts make 36, that's 4. I need my g as well though, to make 36g. And the last one here, I look for a number common to both parts. And I've got a 3 and a 1, so there's no highest common factor of that. Letters, I've got an n in both bits, so I'll take an n out. What do you multiply all this by? What do you multiply n by to get all this? Well, you need the 3m squared, so that'll all come together to make that. I need a plus, and n times n makes n squared.